Alright guys, what's up? I'm in a game here between Burn Pyro and Sexbox. Burn Pyro is playing his normal meta Sundered Lands, and Sexbox is playing something with Forsaken Waste. I'm not exactly sure yet. But today I have a treat for you guys because I have Sokolove here in the chat. He's on Discord, and yeah, so say hi.
Hi everybody. Sexbot's actually playing the Arroyo deck. I like this Dead Magic Zone stuff.
It's true. We
So
do have the
you see
Bloodbinder
the Red
account for that.
Lords and stuff come out. Yeah, I played against him earlier on Nora Glades, and I was not able to hold bottom font. Made a couple mistakes when I played him with my commander, the Centaur. Didn't use declare target.
Do you actually get every single rune? Like, do you just automatically get it? How do you set that up?
So I mean, basically, runes aren't physical cards, so we can generate infinite number of anything we want. And so yeah, what I just do is go into the admin, put in my name, and decide what I want to give myself. So if I want to give myself 1,000 Harveys, I can.
Yeah, but would you have to then write in every single rune? Can't you just say, "Oh, I want every or
Yeah, it's a drop down list. I just select all.
okay, okay."
Basically, every new expansion, I do select all again and get extra copies of old stuff. Not that it really matters.
Oh, I see. And what about ranking them up and the runes? Do you have to rank them up yourself, or can you
No,
just
I
buy
mean I can
tokens?
give myself tokens as well. So.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Sounds like fun.
But usually, because I design the runes, in many cases, the default upgrades are what I plan to run them with anyway. So I mean, I don't purposefully pick the wrong upgrades for the champions. That I expect usually that the upgrades I pick, maybe not everybody will run it, but they aren't meant to be like, oh, you have to level them up before the champion is useful.
Yeah,
That'd
yeah.
just be mean.
I mean,
Obviously, if the game was a different business model, I would be doing that. For example, if the game was completely free to play and you bought currency and used currency to level up your runes, in that case, if that was the model was more like that, then and you got the runes for free, but you had to level them up or whatever, something of that nature, then I would be pushing, you know,
yeah,
having to upgrade your champions much more. But because of the business model and the way we do it, it's like I don't want to force people to need tokens.
yeah.
Um, that said, lots of debate about whether they should be tokens, how much they should cost, and all that stuff. But that's a different discussion altogether.
I mean, right now in forums, there's been a lot of discussion about the business model, and especially about these packs that have been going around, and the image that was, connected with the Ultra Pack or the Mega Pack, whatever it's called, or however you want to call it.
Yeah.
Do you have any words to say? I know you already said some on the forums, but
Right. So, I mean, I think what happened here was that mostly people expected there to be a mega box. Like they normally expect with the expansion that there's a mega box along with the regular box. We've been doing that for a long time, and so the perception was that hey, that's the mega box, and it used the image of the mega box, so everybody sort of expected that to be the same thing. We deliberately did not call it a mega box, just to try and avoid that confusion. But we should have changed the image as well. Basically, is what it comes down to. At the same time, people also expect the mega box, so they wanted it. So we put it back and moved the Zulo's LE into its own bundle. Um, in the future, expect more of the LEs. Outcast the Limb did pretty well,
yeah.
and
But
I understand that some people didn't think the sprite was different enough, and I tend to agree with that. So maybe we may edit it down the road,
yeah,
and I'll also try and make sure the next one is more visually distinct. But the real expensive part, actually, when creating a rune, is the actual art piece,
yeah,
the rune art itself. The sprite is relatively cheap compared
to
to
make.
the actual piece of art. So
Yeah, it's actually a good
that's where
question.
most of the cost is. And so normally when you see some of the other reskins where we just add a Santa hat, that's really cheap to do. And so those things aren't worth anything in from our estimation. But when we commission a new piece of art, that could be anywhere from $200 to $500 depending on which artist we're contracting with. So it's an expensive piece of art. So
Yeah,
it's not as though from our perspective it's valuable.
yeah, yeah. I have two questions for you. One, um, how long does it take comparatively to make a new sprite compared to like a new piece of art. I think I've asked this from Markov, and or maybe it was even from you, and he said that making art takes, it's around like $500 to $200 to make a piece of art, and it takes, a good week or so. How long does it take to make a sprite?
So I'll talk about the rune art first. The rune art varies significantly. Some artists can turn it around in a week. Others takes 3 weeks and lots of back and forth. Sometimes they will send something back and it would not be correct, and we'll have to go back and forth. And sometimes it ends up like we can't delay any longer, so we just take what they gave us. Especially if they were really late and they sent it back like 2 days before the expansion. There's just no time to revisit it. So sometimes the art isn't quite what we want, and that is why sometimes things end up changing last minute. Oh, this person put wings on this creature that we didn't want wings, so now it has to have flight. And so there's things like that that happen, that don't quite work out. And there's a funny story that I've told some people before, relating to art, but basically sometimes they misunderstand the instructions and we get a really funny piece that makes absolutely no sense.
Like the elf with the bow that hits from close range,
That
for example.
Yeah, I mean that was part of it. Yeah, so that one was an example of where the idea of that rune, was that he was supposed to have a weapon that could be ranged but wasn't exclusively ranged. Um, and then the other character was supposed to have a melee weapon, and it just kind of didn't quite work that way. Um, don't know. I forget exactly. I think like he got the two mixed up and gave the weapon of one to the other. And so then when we were actually doing the design, it was like, oh, now it's like weird. But other times it's like completely wrong or very funny where the person misread it, or because English is not his, first language, it creates a situation where it's just really, really awkward. But in terms of the sprite, that's usually closer to 3 days. If it's a completely new sprite, obviously, if there is an existing template, if it's a boil, we take an existing boil and you know add onto it, and that also, it's a shortcut, but at the same time, it also creates consistency with size as well as
Yeah.
form, so that a boil looks like a boil and not like a different one every single time. And you get that with the rune art.
Yeah.
What happens, if a different artist does a longs, well, that longs is going to look different than the artist, someone else who's going to do the rendition. So um, there's benefits to trying to maintain that consistency. It looks like Sexbot has contested that font up there, but
Yeah.
uh, in doing so, he's not doing so hot at the mid font.
Yeah. I mean, it's his turn though. He has a lot of AP stored up. The hunter is evasive. He wouldn't want to go for that. And if he wants to go for the violence, he has to make sure he kills a one turn, or else the furious attacks will just rip him apart. Um, so maybe the
He kind of
Manticore.
sort of has to maybe do it now anyway, um,
We'll see.
because
He
it is,
has.
it is going to get to fierce attacks regardless of what he does here. So either
Yeah, that's true.
he has to do something about
Well, I
it.
mean, on board he has what? Because the new SL bonus is that it's just -2, right? You just
Yeah,
take 2 less damage.
straight up twos. So
So
easy.
yeah, he's got. Well, he just
Okay,
moved
so he's
up.
gonna block him with the portal.
He can't double attack now though with his Whisper Gas, which he could have done before.
Yeah, if he had done it before, but it looks like he's just disengaging.
Oh, okay. So he might still be able to kill it with the
Oh,
Steel Life.
yeah, he wrecked me with that spell. I actually cast a protection on my centaur, and then he cast that spell, and I was like, damn it,
I have a
protection
question there
doesn't
too.
feel
I
right.
do you guys ever play a game, get pissed at something that's OP, and then just next expansion? Do you guys just say, "Oh yeah, no, that thing's getting nerfed"?
So it depends on what you mean by get pissed, right? So
Oh no.
I tend not to, because I know that I'm not the best at this game. I haven't played it, super competitively in a long time. Contrary to popular opinion, I used to be good at the game, before I was a developer. I did actually make it into like top 10, top 20 when there was a lot more players. Of course, that was a long time ago. The game was very different back then, and I actually reached that when I was playing an FSST deck with like Longs Hunters and uh, bog traps and stuff. Back then, all that stuff worked quite well in controlling people's movements, and then I was able to use leap from the Longs Hunters to sort of get around monsoons that I was putting down myself. So
Mm.
anyway, um, so I play games and I watch games and I get feedback from players and council members to make a decision. And if I do see something that seems out of line, usually I will make a note somewhere to review later.
Yeah.
And it's very rare that I'll see something in game and immediately nerf it. Um, Usually, what comes out of games is bugs, and that's part of the reason I don't play as much or as often as I would. Like I never usually don't sit here and play like 4 or 5 games in a row because what will happen is I'll play a game, and as I'm playing the game, I'm making notes, and then if there are bugs, I immediately go and reproduce them while it's fresh in my memory to see, okay, exactly what happened and then why did that bug happen. The thing about
GG.
bugs is that the game's over.
Let's go jump into Atherhog and Snefru.
Okay, let's go. So the thing about bugs is that quite often is not so straightforward. For example, there's a bug with confused right now that doesn't apply sometimes, and we're not sure why it happened. It didn't seem to be happening before, or maybe it was, and it was just not really visible.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen every time. It only seems to happen when there's a specific subset of abilities on it that then trips out one reason or another. You cannot hear me, it's because my internet went up.
Yeah, you lagged a little bit there. I'm not sure what your last sentence was, but
Okay,
um,
yeah, my last lesson was about my internet, but before that I was talking about seems to be only affecting a subset of abilities. So if you have, I think commanders one of
um, all right. Well, Sokolov's gone. I don't hear him anymore. He goes, "Meh, meh, meh, Commander, meh, 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 abilities, meh, meh, meh." Anyway, that's all here. Pretty sure he got blocked out now. Let's see if he's still on Discord.
I can hear you.
Ah, you're back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, so like I said, my internet's been cutting in and out tonight for some reason. So it doesn't like completely kick me off everything. Like I'm still in the game, but it will like cut out for a few seconds here and there, which is very annoying for actually playing or doing anything.
Hmm. Indeed.
Um,
Very much so.
Anyway, so one of the abilities that seems to bug out Confused is Commander. So if a champion has Commander on upgrade, that you put Confused on him, it won't go away. But if he has some other abilities, it's fine.
Hmm.
So
That's funny.
that's one of the situations where I can't just say Confused is bugged to the programmers. Like we have to actually go and figure out why
Mhm.
is it bugged and in what situations is it bugged. And there are some cases where it's completely unrelated. There was a case where um, I forget, like something like backlash, and then like vitality creation or something.
Mm,
If both of them was on the board, then only one of them would work,
that's funny.
and which they're completely unrelated. They don't even deal with the same types of things. One deals with deploys, the other deals with spells. But or Nora in that case. Actually, it
Mhm.
was something. It was a spell. It was spells and champions. So I think it may have been like council champions or something like that. Anyway, but basically the problem was that in the code somewhere they were calling the same variable um, by the same name, and so when one ability was in play, it was hijacking the code of the other one essentially on some level.
Yeah,
Um,
interesting.
so you know that's just like bad programming or coincidence,
It's a coincidence.
but basically that stuff happens, and if you don't that's why people just report something very simply a lot of times. It's like I can't reproduce this because it doesn't happen every time.
Mm,
um, and so I spend a lot of my time watching games, noticing bugs, and then
writing them
going to
down.
single player and reproducing the bugs. um, so some people say, how come you don't play the game? Well, that's partly why, because I actually spend a lot of time
Finding
in
bugs.
the game doing other stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's easier for me to jump in and out of games, watch games, notice a bug, and jump back out, as opposed to having to finish the game out that I'm currently playing. I mean, I could just surrender, and I used to do that in the past. There's a reason why I have so many losses. Back at SOE, I would play. And then if I had to go for a meeting, which there was tons of because, you know, big company bureaucracies. Um, so then I would just be like, okay, I have to go for this meeting now, surrender. So,
Yeah, losses
um,
don't matter. It's okay.
right, right. But yeah.
I mean, the example I was thinking of, this might just stick out in my mind because I was at that time playing spiders, and I had Klizik with the propagate, and I had a rust demon with aura 2 of or aura 1 of yeah, acid aura, right? And what
Mhm.
my trick would be, I would put a rust demon, 1 or 2 of them even, next to the Klizik, and I would get 2 extra spider eggs every turn, right? And I played against Wraith one turn, and he said, and I remember this, it was really funny. He's like, "Oh, that's cheap." And then the next expansion, you guys moved it up to 4 damage, and then you guys after that moved it up again to 5. So you have to get rank 3 aura for it to work now, instead of back then rank 1. And at first I was pissed, but now it does actually make sense because being able to do that is kind of cheesy. But
I mean, it's usually that stuff isn't happening, based on a specific game. Um, and in that case, there was actually, I think there are 3 propagate abilities. And part of that whole thing was consolidating the 3 of them so that they all work the same way because they all work slightly differently.
mm,
And if people know anything about me by now, they should know that I hate stuff like that. Obviously, the game is so big, it's you can't have like there's always going to be some inconsistency, but where I can, I'm like, okay, if these things are all propagate abilities that all have a very similar function, you know, why don't they work the same way? Um, and so that was part of it. And yeah, the other one is just that easily self-propagating doesn't quite make sense. In general, I like to actually leave those kind of interactions intact. My default stance is those are interesting mechanics. Um, but a lot of times, because of the nature of when your opponent does something to you, is very different than when you control the pace at which you're doing something. The line become the balance becomes very different when you can do it yourself. So
Anyway, in the game right now, after I'm playing Salamanders, and he has a 22 damage Salamander Privateer. That's always fun. Um, and what I did see is that they did update Arc Blade, which I think is really good because Arc Blade used to be insane. It did like I don't know 40 damage in a turn just because Privateer would get up to 12 or whatever, or I mean 17, and then it would hit one champ, do the 17, hit another champ, do the 10, and then hit this other champ again and do another 10. So it did like 40 damage in a turn. And because of the Salmon ingenuity from the Trapper, it'd be able to do it every 2 turns, pretty much every turn.
yeah,
So
the cooldown. Yeah. So I mean, in general, people may have noticed that we've been moving away from percent based stuff,
yep,
including damage on a lot of these. Obviously, bombs are still that way,
deep
but
wounds,
yeah, but a lot of them have moved away from that
yeah.
paradigm.
Hunters, for example, is a big one. All right, let's see what he does. It's. I mean, he's against the Rip Witch and the Inkblight Witch, but the Salmon, the Fire Salmon's about to die. We'll see. If at this turn he can maybe kill the Rip Witch, he's doing really well. It's kind of always hard to kill
Yeah.
the Inkblight just because of Oblivion Shield, though. Oh yeah, no. Rip Witch is dead. They have so much damage, the Salaman, after like a few like ingenuities.
Well, the
Uh,
ingenuities give you 6 maximum, and then the privateer has blitz.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
So blitz is
Also,
pretty interesting as an ability. Really punishes bad positioning essentially.
mm,
I
yeah,
enjoy
the
blitz.
the Centaur has Blitz, right? Yeah, I mean, you were talking about Centaur before, and then there's a Centaur that has Blitz. That's fun.
Yeah, and
Cool
then
game.
there's a skirmisher who has running strike too.
Yep, it's always fun. There's not that many champions with the running strike, is there? I can only think of the Skirmisher. Maybe, no, there's one more at least.
Skizik.
Skizik, yeah.
Ripper, I want to say. forget the name, but yeah, it's not a super easy ability to build for. Like the kit has to be fairly specific because of the nature of it. Like you have a range champion that has to
Yeah.
run back and forth. So,
Yeah, like if you have a
oh,
champion that
you
already has
block.
too much range or something. Ah, yes. Provision defense. Haha. Is unstoppable. Block. What I noticed not too long ago was that provision utility was actually changed, so it has shatter summons now. I didn't know that at first, but so that's always cool. Because then now instead of I don't know what it was, but he has shatter summons and maybe even detection still. It's a good one. See if I can find one. No, no, yeah, none of them have it. They all have provision defense. Yeah, I think he wins. I think Anthrog wins. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I mean,
GG.
there's
There you go.
yeah, and his opponent probably wasn't on his level, regardless of the decks. In that case,
Why do you say that? We don't know. Everybody's rank is new.
yeah, but I don't really
Because you never heard of him, you mean?
recognize.
Yeah.
I don't really recognize the name, and his rating was pretty low
Yeah, okay,
even
me either.
before that game.
Yeah,
His
it's
rating was
true.
lower than mine, so
Yeah.
I was actually doing pretty well last expansion, but this one I've opened with a lot of losses.
Wait, last
But that's probably
expansion. You weren't even ranked last expansion, or were you? You weren't even in limited. I mean,
no. I mean, I don't play enough to get up there.
haha. So this means you're gonna reduce the games to get to limited. Is that what it means?
No,
Yeah.
I don't make those for me.
Alright, I'm in. I mean, I don't know. I'm in Burn Pyro's game again. Between
Okay.
Burn Pyro and Capitulate.
So earlier I used the limbs teleport to get over this wall here on the bottom right of Grove of Ashes to kill something. So that was pretty fun.
That's
I lost
fun.
that game, but it's stuff like that that is fun.
The new what am I saying? The new Majaran map, the one that yeah,
Chores.
yeah, the Moss Shores. Is that one being changed? Because I know that map is like really, stall heavy, where you just kind of wait it out and you make up a big army and then it all ends up in one big boom.
I don't know. I mean the layout of that particular map. So a lot of the issues with the maps is that a lot of the layouts is kind of fixed. So for example, these wall pieces in the bottom here, like
Yeah.
I can't move them easily without redrawing. And not that it takes a ton of time for an artist to do that. It's just a bunch of extra steps in QA and stuff like. So typically, moving the fonts and the shrines are much easier than moving the map assets because then
Mm.
you have to get the artist involved. Um, but yeah, the shores like background template hadn't been reused at all. So I took the opportunity to try and create something different out of that map.
Yeah. Oh, I
Um,
love the other version. That was cool with the middle font. Nice, bro.
oh, you mean the existing two font one? So probably not because that's one of the few two font maps that actually seem to work. And while it does have a little bit of a stall, it's typically received well. That's one of
Mm.
those maps that doesn't get a lot of complaints.
Yeah,
So
the good
I
one.
try to avoid changing the ones that aren't
Yeah.
high on people's hate list.
Yeah, the reason that one is better than, for example, the Savage Tundra map, right? Is because there you
Tundra
don't have.
Lake, yeah,
Yeah, Tundra Lake has a giant piece of water in the middle, so there
yeah,
Forgola Swamp and anything flying just has like a giant advantage compared to anything else. While in the Majoran map, at the very least, even if it's a big stalling game, uh, you have a nice everybody can get to everywhere, because it's
yeah,
all just land.
yeah. I don't know if people remember like the old FS map and the old ST map and
Oh my god.
those maps. It's just
Yeah.
when you played ST, you're just like, I just hope I get that map because then everything of mine is fine, and all your stuff is -1 speed.
The old FS map without that little middle the middle island that's there. I remember that where it was just those two long like it was kind of just
Yeah,
like a little donut shaped map, right? Where that's all it
yeah,
was. That was horrible. Oh my god, I hated that map. At least they changed that a little bit with the little mid font middle you know island thing. It's better.
yeah.
When I when
So
I
did Burn give up the bottom font on purpose, or did it? Because I
yeah
think we got into this game late. I mean,
no he
he's
just
winning the battle, I think, but
yeah. I mean, it's Ferk right now, right? And they're pretty squishy, and this violence, this aspect of violence, is kind of like ripping through them.
yeah, like I don't see how he's gonna kill that thing.
Yeah, and
That's not gonna help.
yeah, I was about to say the same thing. That's not gonna help. That's not what you want.
It might be able to keep him distracted so he can't furious attacks, but that's he's gonna do it next turn, maybe.
Well, I mean, the Ferk Botanist won't be doing. Oh, damn, he doesn't have Viper Eyes anymore. Never mind. He will not be able to defend.
I hope he has a plan. Oh, here I noticed something. Nature's connection is 6 spaces,
Yeah.
and we've been consolidating everything to 5. So I'm gonna go into my thingy and change it. But not a nerf per se. I mean, it's technically a nerf because it's going from 6 to 5 spaces.
Some little.
But basically, most games I'll be watching, I will notice something of that nature.
That's hilarious. You see that? The Noxus aura making it so that they're both taking damage when the aspect of
Yeah.
violence attack. That's pretty funny.
So I guess
Yeah.
that was his plan.
Yeah, that was cool.
Sacrifice the botanist.
Yeah, well, I mean, he got him down quite like a lot. I mean, he kept life siphoning from himself, but that was cool. uh, anyway, what I was gonna say is one of the big marks of a game that really like gets me hooked, and not only just the game itself, but also like um while in a game is uh immersion, right? When you're like really immersed and you can like really pretend you're in the game, in the in a book, for example. If you're reading a book, if you can really pretend you're in the book, um, and if you have a really good map, then it helps with like a little bit of things moving, with wind going around, that kind of stuff. And I know on some maps you have like clouds going on. Do you guys hope to like edit some of the maps, make them a little bit more alive? Maybe have like grass, weaving, or is that just too much work?
Um, I mean, a couple of the maps they get updated to that state. Um, and that's just something that we have to find time for here and there. Lately we've been super busy, lots of different projects. Desert Isle Games doesn't just work on Pox Nora, so yeah.
Yeah.
So our artists are usually pretty busy.
Yeah, I mean, right now you guys are working on the well, first of all, the new, well, the player-made expansion, the new UI, and the other game you guys are making with Sony, right?
Yeah, yeah. So what the thing with Sony is actually the PS4 port.
Yeah,
So
PS4.
that's a Sony thing. Um, there may be something else. It's not finalized yet. It hasn't been announced. And yeah, and there's other things that we're working on. Um, if anybody who's been to conventions may have seen some promo stuff for a game called Space Wars.
Yep,
Um,
been told.
that's a work for hire thing where we were hired to make that game for somebody. So not so we don't have full creative control there. But I've been working on that with the guy as well. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. And there's always some minor stuff here and there that we're doing. Yeah, gotta make some monies.
Gotta make some monies. Uh, yeah, yeah. In a perfect world, you guys would have a lot of money, so you guys should work on Pox Nora all day.
Yeah, I mean, if Power was big enough that it could support the studio and allow us to do additional projects, and that would be great. And obviously we're still investing in it and trying to make it that way. But it's a very old game, so there is
Mm.
cautious optimism for what we can do with it. But um, it was in a long period of decline since Marjan.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess, but like mat or when it's like card games are like not in decline though. I mean, you see Hearthstone just making shitloads of players. So I mean, there are some smart people still alive that like are okay with it. Just it's a certain type of
Yeah,
smart you
so
need.
but here's the thing, when you have an old game and running on old code and old engines and stuff, it's hard to get buy-in. You know, obviously Hearthstone and stuff also is Blizzard, so they could put out poopy poop, and it would still do well. I mean, remember with Diablo 3, at launch wasn't that good, and they still sold like 50 million copies. So
Yeah.
Blizzard can almost do no wrong at this point, and they have the resources to fix things relatively quickly as well.
Pox
Um,
2.0, bro. Pox 2.0.
yeah, so that's part of it, right? Like we're doing other projects to put enough in the bank so that we can um, do something new.
Later in life. Pox
But yeah, like
2.0.
a lot of players, and even me, basically you can have a lot of ideas on, oh, this would be good, that would be good, if you change the business model, if you added this feature. But typically the trend of a game is the trend of a game, and it's very difficult to change that trajectory almost no matter what you do. It's very easy to be very optimistic about your ideas.
Yeah.
um, Reality is sort of, if you think this particular idea is going to increase the player base by 20%, concurrent users for example, probably going to be about a quarter or a third of that. Like you have to basically assume that what you think is going to happen is about 3 or 4 times what the reality is going to be, and that's fairly consistent. It's something we do internally and at game studios. If you're have a project and you're trying to decide, okay, what feature or what thing that we're going to do, one of the things you should be doing is trying to estimate what the impact of that feature is, and
Mm.
make a list of them. If we do this one, it's going to increase retention, it's going to increase revenue. If we do this other one, it's going to increase concurrency and whatever metrics that you want to look at, and then see, once you have implemented a feature, what was the result. And one thing you consistently find is that if somebody is new to the project or new to game development, they vastly overestimate the impact of features. And the reality, as I said, is that most of the time you're not going to get the impact that you think it should get. And that's not to say that good ideas aren't good ideas, but that momentum matters a lot. And so, as much as we love Pox and our players love Pox, and then I still do, you have to be aware that the game is not young and it's not on the upswing of its lifetime. That said, putting it out on a new platform and with a new client on PlayStation 4 is the type of major shift that could change its trajectory. But adding faction specific packs, no, that's not going to have much of an impact at all. And
Yeah.
a lot of times when we talk about features with players, especially when players offer suggestions and stuff, they'll say, "Oh, if you do this, then new players are going to be,
Flooding
more
in all
likely
of a
to stick
sudden.
around and stuff."
And you're like, no.
And that kind of stuff. It's just not the reality,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And most of the time, the things that veteran players care about or notice isn't what new players care about. Like,
Wait,
you,
was that blockade? What was that? Why did he not gain? Yeah, blockade. That's funny. Burn just messed that up. He used transfusion to get his locust over, and then blockade just fucked him up hardcore. So he just used transfusion for nothing, and the locust is kind of there, just sitting there doing nothing as well. Sorry. All right, keep going.
oh, it's a blockade over there. Yeah, yeah.
From
Oh,
the
he's got a
mediator.
great coverage on that block.
Yeah, the mediator. The
Yeah, he has two
locust
of
tried
them.
to
So
do
I
it.
was looking at the one down there. I'm like, he is in range.
No, yeah, there's two of them. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, hard countered.
Yeah. All right, sorry. You can keep talking now.
So it looks like he isn't going to lose outright because of that, though. He had enough of an advantage that he could make that mistake.
Mm. Well, I wouldn't even say
That's the kind of mistake.
I wouldn't even say enough of an advantage, just enough of like him playing meta compared to whatever this deck is.
Yeah, what is this deck? It's a psychic deck, I guess. It must be
Yeah,
psychic.
yeah, it's a psychic deck, but it's like kind of weird on how it's like set up. I mean, like
Yeah,
why
Nature's
frick
Connections
Botanist?
almost makes no sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's for plants, right?
Yeah.
Hmm. I don't know what level
But
this
yeah, so a
guy
lot of
is.
players will say stuff like, "Oh, if you do this, then it'll be good for new players." But most of the time, new players are not looking at the same things you are. So one example would be, when we're talking about like rarity equals power or whatever, and it's like, yeah, in theory, you're correct that if a new player comes in and sees a bunch of exotics and legendaries, and that are overpowered and killing them, they might
Yeah.
leave the game because of that. But most likely, they're not going to understand that it was exotics and legendaries that killed them. They're going to lose almost no matter what they're playing against, and everything is going to feel overpowered because they're bad. And so yeah. So it's not to say that players do not have good ideas. It's just that people in general, not just players, have a tendency to overestimate.
Yeah.
And being optimistic is not a bad thing, but it's also have to be realistic about your
Mm,
expectations.
yeah. I mean, I know something that I would love, for example, is have you ever played Medieval 2 Total War? It's like the Total War games in general.
I've played some of the Total Wars, but not that one in particular.
But you know how if you're not in a battle, but when you're on the map, you can like zoom in and you'll see like little people moving with like little trolleys like going
Hmm.
to the separate
Yeah.
houses or whatever, like that. But in Pox Nora style would be crazy. Like if you actually saw like those little intricate things, and if the map was like more alive. That's what I kept saying about immersion. But that's always
Yeah.
not realistic. It's kind of a different game anyway, but still.
Yeah, if it in the new client, it'll be easier to do effects. The effects here have to be written in Java and stuff, so it's kind of restrictive. But in the new client, which is built in Unity, it'll be easier to add client-based effects. So we might be able to do more stuff. I know during SOE we updated some of the tiles. So for example, the water you see now around
Yeah,
the shrine there, it's moving, things like that. Yeah.
yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, certain things here doesn't make sense. Like obviously, like adding people would be kind of odd. But yeah, just ambient movement,
Yeah,
birds flying around. There's lava here. Like this map, for example, would be a great one to have some movement in the lava. Like there's literally a
exactly.
volcano there. So,
Yeah, exactly.
uh, and that's the type of stuff that's very interesting, right? Like you can't really measure any direct impact out of that, but people who see somebody else playing the game, and that's gonna catch the eye
Mm,
uh, a lot better.
yeah, yeah. It's a big example.
And Pox has been working on localization for a while, like wanting to get different languages in there, but
Yeah,
it's a
it's true.
big challenge because Pox is so much
Yeah.
text,
So
and that's part of the reason I'm consolidating and streamlining things because it makes it easier if the terminology and mechanics consistent, then you can use the same words for the same things.
are you guys looking to cater to a new market? For example, Asia, Germany, whatever, you name it,
So
Spain.
during SOE, the talks actually went fairly deep, but then the company in Korea had issues denying. Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened to them, but
Well, so you did try to cater to like Korea then. You tried to like get a
there,
market over
there
there.
there have been movements in the past. I wasn't really involved in the talks of that nature, but during SOE when I was there were fairly deep in talks, and a lot
Hmm.
of localization work has actually been done on the back end. That's why, I mean, right now in the combat log, you can see like those text strings that say blah 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 asset name or whatever ability dot name and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
All that is remnants of the SOE work on localization.
that's funny.
Basically, the text being the text looks for a string from a file. Um, And so if it's missing from that file or not calling the right thing, it just spits out this, uh, the key as opposed to the actual text. And so
Hmm.
that's why all that stuff popped up when we bought the game back, because SOE didn't necessarily give us all the right stuff. So, and that's also why drafts are broken.
Draft
Not
are broken.
necessarily the localizations, but it's the fact that they didn't give um, Desert Isle they weren't very nice. We'll
Yeah,
just say
why would they do that? They don't want you to succeed in a game that they themselves played, or what? Or like or created?
I mean, you would have to ask the decision makers over there. I don't know. I mean, I can only speculate, but
Yeah, okay, and speculate. Why would they not want you to succeed, or why would they not give you the full, code or whatever you need for the draft?
so it's not necessarily that they wouldn't like. There are certain things they wouldn't give us, and there are certain things that they were reluctant to give, and that kind of stuff, or made it difficult. And specifically though with the drafts, it's the reason there is because it wasn't so much a decision, but rather that when the system was made, drafts were built during SOE, and so it was fully embedded into the fulfillment system. And in game development terms, fulfillment systems is when I buy something or when I unlock something, there's a fulfillment system that says this account has earned this item, give it to him, and sort of controls the logistics of how that's handled. And so, because of the nature of drafts, because you're actually looking at a pack and picking one and getting that fulfilled, but the rest of the pack is still in the fulfillment system and gets passed to someone else, um, it was fully embedded into the fulfillment system. So, when you disconnect from their systems, then the drafts is like, I don't know how I'm supposed to work because, you know,
Hmm.
it's like saying, give me your hand, but the arm stays where it is. And so the hand doesn't work without the arm.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not necessarily a great analogy, but basically that's the kind of thing you're talking about, where the draft system is the hand and you just pull it off, and it's like, well, the hand doesn't work anymore unless
Okay.
we rebuild the arm. And the arm, unfortunately, is a big deal in that system. Like the ability to pick a rune from the screen is almost nothing, right? Like it's just a button that represents the rune, and it makes a call to a server that says the guy picked this rune. It is, but the real meat and guts and nuts and bolts of the system is the fulfillment system and how it handles who gets what runes. And then, once everyone has picked the runes, it makes sure that all the people
But could
in
you
the
not
zone.
ask people like, "Hey, can you tell me how many tickets you have?" And then then you just run it
Well,
off
that's
of
that's that's,
honor
that's
system or
something
something?
separate. That's something separate, right? Like we 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 do have to sit. We do know how many tickets you have. They did give us that,
Okay.
so we know how many tickets you have. But that's something that's completely separate than
Uh,
the fulfillment system and how that works with drafts. So it's like, for example, like the draft is like the UI. Like we're sitting here at the lobby now, and I can pick which game to observe. That is the UI portion of the draft. That part works.
hmm.
The part that we don't have is the game itself, which is how the drafts function. That part is the part that was embedded into their fulfillment system. And so this would be like, I can click on observe a game, but we don't have the game engine. Like
Okay.
that's the level of proximity
And
we're
they
talking
don't want to
about.
give you that part of the fulfillment system because.
Because it's the SOE fulfillment system. It's not just for Pox Nora. Like
Oh,
it's an
okay.
entire. It's so the way SOE works is that they have one login system and they have one
Okay.
fulfillment system. They have one patching system, and so that's why sometimes during SOE times, the game you couldn't log into the game because they were updating the authentication and login system for all the SOE products.
Mhm. Right.
Burn is in another game.
Uh-huh.
So basically, it has a benefit in that any upgrades they do to the system, all games get. But then if one game needs an update because of reasons X or Y, then it breaks all the games until that's been upgraded. So it's
Okay.
has its benefits and drawbacks.
And
Um,
the draft right now would only ever work with their fulfillment system. You couldn't make your own fulfillment system, and it would work with that.
we could make our own, yeah, but that's basically we would have to build it,
Okay.
and there just hasn't been time to do that.
All right.
Um,
Someday it might
but
come back.
Yeah, and we probably wouldn't build a fulfillment system so much as the draft system itself.
Yeah.
like in their case, because of the way drafts worked, they decided to just put it in there. For us, we'd probably build it separately, just because it makes more sense for
Mhm.
us. So we have Skizix.
Right now, I'm actually watching Frogo um versus Chris, just because he's playing bunnies, which is kind of funny.
Oh, okay. I will
Just
jump over there. KFUD bunnies,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
is it
Well, right
what
now on the
bunnies?
board, there's only bunnies. That kind of makes me laugh. Just bunnies, little bunnies. Shadow bunny,
Oh, it's a
Salamfell,
beast
rabbit.
stack. Okay,
Yeah, it's a beast deck, but right now there's
it
only
must be
bunnies.
beasts.
Yeah, but there's just bunnies.
I have this command that I can make champions talk, but it only works if I'm in the game itself. I wish it worked in
Yeah.
observer mode. What do you think of this map?
Well, like I mean, here you can see the water. I mean, first of all, I love this map. Just like play wise, it's very fair. I feel like because you have this middle font on the bottom right, that you both have to fight for, so it's not ever really stalled out super long. But I love this map actually, to be honest. But like imaging wise, like the water looks really cool. I mean, you kind of like feel like you're on this. Like if you could, like if you later again talk about this map or you think about this map, let's say you're in the shower, just eating a banana, I don't know, and you're thinking about Pox Nora, and you remember your game on this map, you'll be like, oh, you could totally like put yourself on this little island where you have your bunnies attacking these giant mutated uh, balls of flesh that are like I don't even know what this is. It's sand, a ball of sand. I don't know. You could totally like image it in your head pretty well.
Yeah, I love watching some of these games because like I know some players complain about decks being the same, but I actually see a lot of variety when I watch games anyway.
Yeah.
You got this like beast deck, and then the other side is
Beast.
sand. But when you actually just think about like what he's got out, it's not like the mutated farm animals crap going on.
Yeah. Muted farm animals. That's funny. And we got the target. Yeah, sand elemental you do not see very often. That's why I'm pretty hyped about this. Sand elemental, it's like really rare to see. Domain sand, calcify, desert font.
Calcify is such an interesting ability, I think.
Yeah, it is. I like it. It's nice.
What it I
What?
considered consolidating into Zeo defense, but I like the way that is defensive, so
Yeah,
left
no,
it.
it's cool because like I mean, it's one of those champs that like the first hit will be good, the second hit will be good, but the third and fourth, those won't be doing much. You'll just kind of be wasting AP if you want to try to like really get it dead in one turn. You're gonna have a hard time. It's like an anti one round um, ability.
Yeah, so one of the reasons I made a couple of different variants of this particular map is because unlike a lot of the other maps that have a lot of stuff on it that I can't move around, this
Mm,
map is pretty much an open canvas. So it allows a lot more configurations without running into 2x2 issues or whatever, you know,
yeah,
that kind of stuff. So it's yeah, I
I mean,
like I like the way this one turned out. I know some people um,
this
the
one.
zero font one has been sort of some people like it, some people don't. So
Yeah, the zero font one people didn't like because of the Fogar Swamp bonus on that. It's like you get 10 Nora compared to somebody else, or zero Nora compared to somebody getting 6. That's the main complaint I heard about that. But these maps, this
yeah,
one right now that we're on, I don't think anybody's really complained about, or
yeah. Well, I did the math a little bit on the forums for that. Wait, did that not get updated?
what?
I think Soul Transfer is still doing 20 hit points.
Yeah, it did. It does.
I thought I fixed that today.
In the bottom right condition, it says 20 HP, but then when you look on the Shadow Bunny itself and you see like the soul transfer on it, it says 10. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I swear I updated the ability. Let me take a look here.
Did you guys update the Blood Crest?
Yeah, huh. What's up with the blood crest?
I don't know. I'm not sure if you guys fixed it or not, but that one it said it was kind of weird because it would say in the if you clicked on it, it was 6 spaces. Or no, it was 5 spaces. But then on the writing, it said 6 spaces and 3 damage taken, but it would take 5 damage, and it was within 6 spaces. It was very weird. It was like a mix between what you said or what it should be and what it shouldn't. Bunny Lord. I love the Bunny Lord. Wasn't the Bunny Lord made for a certain for a certain person in the game? Like there's a reason it was made. Like somebody decided for
Yep, yep.
this. Who was that?
A person named Saitan.
And why was he honored with his own exotic?
He drew, I think, the original Bunny
Ah,
Lord.
okay. So you're saying if I draw a really good picture and then you guys will use it?
It's possible.
Really? Because I'll draw you guys a spider. I want to be in the game. That'd be funny.
It is possible.
I guess it's like free. Then you're like, oh yes, free artwork. Usually this shit costs like $100. Now it's just
Normally, no. So he didn't. I mean, he drew one, but that's not the one we use.
oh
Like, yeah, like I think Casper did this guy. The one he drew was good, and I mean, part of it is that he just liked the idea and he was pushing the idea. So that's just this guy's got the sand beasts all up in his face.
yeah. And the
Come on, Chris, fight him off.
yeah. I want the bunny lord to go swarm something, but the target is so hard to kill.
Yeah.
Void shield and Sundered Lands.
He should be able to kill it this round, but he would have to give up that font.
Well, if he places a relic and then goes and kills it, he might be able to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
I need it. What's
Or he's gonna go after
the
Doombringer.
Doombringer?
He has technically enough to kill it.
The Doombringer?
Yeah.
You sure? When he has
Well,
2 attacks from
that
Valkyrie,
one-
2 attacks from Bunny Lord, that's not enough.
Oh wait, I thought.
Yeah, and the Sunderland bonus, and 1 armor, so.
Yeah.
He needs a spell.
For some reason, I thought the Valkyrie was the one with Sunder, but it's the Doombringer. I just clicked too fast between the two.
No, detection and distract, which is also nice.
So I mean, he didn't have a lot of choice, but I feel like I would have moved the Fell Rabbit into the font and then killed the tardigrade.
Yeah, that's true. So I done too, or what you probably should have done. Put it that way.
And get the swarm off.
Oh, because of the turtle
That's
thing.
the turtle.
Yeah. When you like reach half health, it goes into turtle. That's why you
Such a
couldn't
fun
kill him.
ability. Such a fun ability. Okay, let's see. What happened to Soul Transfer? Why didn't this get updated? That's why. Okay.
Alright, GG. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. This video's getting really long. Had a good chat though. We'll do some more later sometime in life. We'll just do some more. But thanks for being here, man. It was cool.
Yep, it was fun. Talk to you later.